so much for being here. I love the new logo. That's why I put it here. And I love the new name as well. And I love the mission and what you're building, the new venture fund. Super exciting time. We're very happy to be partners with you and support women and non-binary founders in their journey. And today I want to share with you what a great customer experience looks like from those early days that you're all, I'm assuming you're all very early, pre-seed to seed stage here. And now we'll use examples from fast growing startups who invested early in their customer retention strategy and walk you through some best practices in engaging with customers in a virtual world, including when and how to roll out new customer support features. Like I said a little bit about myself, Fernanda, born and raised in Brazil, moved to the Bay Area 8 years ago. In the beginning of my career here, not there, I was supporting Brazilian startups to launch their businesses in the US and also raise capital with Silicon Valley-based funds. And that's how I got into the whole VC and startup ecosystem. And then I joined Samsung Next to support our portfolio companies at the time and also generate deal flow for the ventures team. And early this year in January, I joined Zendesk for startups to really manage our partnerships with our relationships with our top partners, including Graham and Walker. And so our goal, my goal at Zendesk for Startups is really to get all the baby unicorns out there to join our Zendesk for Startups program. And that's why I want to talk to you about how you can build a unicorn using best practices and metrics from fast growing startups. So you're going to walk away today with tactics, strategies, and tools to put your customer support strategy in place so you can also take your startup to the next level. And before I get into the tactics, I just wanted to share briefly with you that at Zendesk, we make software to help companies manage their relationship with customers, right? From the very first day, Zendesk was founded back in 2007. From day one, everything we do is around customer service and customer support. And from that starting point, we expanded into sales and sales CRM and other CRMs. So our bread and butter is customer support. That's what we do best. That's what we're known for. And that's why we're trusted by more than 160,000 customers around the world. Like I said, we were a startup ourselves not so long ago. I don't know if you know this story about Zendesk, but there were three guys in an apartment, not in a garage, but back in Copenhagen, back in 2007. They founded the company. 2 years later, they have 1,000 customers, and it's a pretty big feat for a B2B startup. So they moved the headquarters to San Francisco, where I'm based. Raised capital, and in 2014 they IPO'd, and we're now a public company. And also a big hit last year during the pandemic, we hit 1 billion in revenue. So it's great to see that the company is still growing, and we're still always putting customers first. And here, as you can see, we provide tools for some of the hottest names in the startup ecosystems. In the startup ecosystem, many of those that you see here, Airbnb, Slack, Calm, they started, grew, and scaled with us. And the reason why I wanted to bring this here today is because it's not to sell you on Zendesk in particular, but to show to you that we have access to what the most innovative companies in the world are doing for their customer support, because they run on us, right? So we are able to see how they're investing, what are they prioritizing. And when we collected all this data, we were able to study this data and understand what works and what doesn't. And today we're focusing on 4,400 startups. And there are some interesting things we found when we looked deeper into those startups. So it's not moving. No. I'm not sure if this is a surprise to you, but our research uncovered that more than 70% of startup founders and decision makers do not have a formal customer support strategy in place. And you know, if you're one of those companies that might be missing out a little bit, I hope this presentation will provide you with the first steps you need to take to get your customer house in order and make up some ground. So let's dive into it. I know, here's one thing I always like to acknowledge: with so many things on a founder's roadmap, from product development to launch, fundraising, hiring talent, it might get super difficult to justify investing in customer support. This is something we talk to a lot of startups. This is something that always comes up, right? And also it's always about mitigating the cost. Most of us see customer support as a cost center. And this is the shift in the mindset I want this presentation to be. I wanted to start thinking about the customer experience being the differentiator between you and your competitors, right? It should be seen as a growth lever and not as just a department or something you're doing. Customer retention is super important. And you might ask, why now? Why should I do this now? Why should I pay attention to this now, right? And I will bring you some data that may make your stomach churn a little bit, but we all know this. Businesses all over the world, we have lost the power that we once had as businesses, and it's a buyer's world, right? Consumers, if they don't like what you do with the environment, if they don't like how you treat your employees, if they don't like how you're interacting with certain communities, they leave. Especially during the pandemic, I feel like we all became super hard to please, and I'm considering myself a consumer here. We want things fast, we want to have a great interaction with your brand, with everyone that we talk with in your company. And we ran a research, and I remember now, I should have brought it here, around 60 or 70% of customers leave your company after one bad interaction nowadays. So if there is one in Latin America, I remember Brazil was like 90%. I was like, what happened to us? We're just now pricks. We don't give people a chance, like it was super high LATAM versus the rest of the world. Of that one bad experience, I'm out. I'm gonna go shop somewhere else. And so it's a buyer's world. You all know this very well. I don't have to talk too much about this, but from the 90s until the early 2000s, the challenge was more like, can you build it, right? It was expensive, it was hard. Boom, with cloud, DevOps, etc., all the way to 2012, cheaper to build, everyone is building, everyone is up on the internet selling. And at the same time, there was a new marketing channel opening up every quarter until about 2015, I think, with the Snapchat. And now, if you think about it, the new marketing channels happen maybe every 5 years, easier to build a product, no new marketing channels. Boom, you are left with 4 to 5 more competitors when you start your business now than in the early 2000s, right? So out of the gate, you're fighting for attention, consumer attentions on the same channels as other startups are. And also the customer acquisition cost is up 70% from 7 years ago. And this data is from Profitwell. It's a very interesting research. If you want to check it out, I can also share with you. And with less channels and more competition than ever, the product value has actually decreased. So we as customers are much less willing to pay for the same things that we used to back in the days. We want things for free. We want to try it before we can buy. And then when we buy, we want to squeeze the business for more. Can you give me 30% off? Can I have this for that? What if we become partners? I know you startups, you do that all the time with us as well. So we know how it feels, and now on top of it, like I mentioned, the customers' expectations are higher than ever, and they're very hard to please. And that's why we have seen that NPS score of software companies are down across the board, 34 points down. So are you excited? Are you overwhelmed? The question should be less about what is happening and more about what to do about it, right? Let's just focus on what we can focus on. So where can we move the needle as a business overall? So this is the exciting part. If you think about success in business, it can be very simple, right? How can you acquire and retain customers? And now that's clear that acquisition is harder than ever. You're all fighting for customers' attention on same channels. what would happen if you were to improve either side by 1%? So if I improve acquisition by 1% or retention by 1%, what is the impact on my overall revenue? And Profitwell did another great study. And in this new age, if we can increase retention by 1%, it has almost 4 times greater impact on revenue than doing the same thing on acquisition. And yet, most of the startups, most of the early stage business has no strategy for customer retention, and yet all eyes on customer acquisition, right? And I know you can't stop acquisition, but we need to realize the impact on revenue and growth that prioritizing customer experience has on your business. So please, it's not moving. Oh, wait. Now, please read this line. Investing in customer support has a significant impact on revenue. And I'm going to go to the math of churn in a little bit. But we looked at all of our existing customers, like I mentioned, and we narrowed down to 4,622 startups and examined them by cohort. And then we looked at factors to determine growth rate of the businesses. And we could then separate out the hyper growth startups from the slow, kind of stagnant growth companies. And we also considered some external factors like fundraising rounds, the amount those companies raised. And then when we layered it on all this information on top of the data that we had from their customer support, we were able to find really interesting information. So the question we were looking to answer with the research was, is there a correlation to investing more in customer support and growing faster? Or are they both investing, are both those groups investing in customer experience the same way and getting lucky on acquisition? Or is there a big difference, right, in the way they're investing? And so let's check under the hood and see what we found out. And this is what I want to bring to you. So this is the roadmap for you as you think about your customer retention strategy. And there are 6 things that hypergrowth startups are doing differently from the rest. First target, add a support platform within 9 to 10 months after raising funding. I think most of the early stage companies keep everything on email, right? You start engaging with customers. At some point, you have a shared inbox. You have people from different teams jumping in to help with customers. And this rule is also called is also known for like saying, get out of your inbox and get a platform in place, get a tool in place. And I feel like most startups I talk with, they ask me, when is it time to get my first support platform? Is it too early? When should I think about those things, right? You don't want to get in too early because you might not have enough volume, things are working well. And you know, although there are some triggers, and I'll share with you, I believe that even when email seems good enough, the upside for getting on a platform, any platform for that matter, any customer support tool, is that you get visibility, right? You get organization, and you can build customer profile as well, understand who are your customers, who should you be prioritizing. And also it helps you with product roadmap, right? You start understanding what are your customers prioritizing, what are they talking about, and you can engage your product and engineering team and give them feedback and start building your product from there, like enhancing and bringing new product features, right? So hypergrowth startups were 33% more likely to add support in their first year. And if you want to do a test, like I'm not sure if I should be adding customer support right now, if I'm too early, I made this little interaction here. I like to call it, like, I don't know, maybe you'll count on your customers on your fingers, or you try to name all your customers. And if you really can't name all of them, it's time for you to get a tool in place. So if you only do one thing, this is what I would recommend today. Get out of email, use a customer support tool. The second target, fast-growing startups adopt omnichannel support 3 to 6 months after adding support. So start with, if you're heavily on emails, get a customer support platform, organize your team around that. And then 3 to 6 months later, think about what channels are your customers using. Are they heavily on Instagram because you're a B2C, maybe, you know, you're selling something, you have to be on Instagram, be there. make sure you're there. Or maybe you do business with in India or Latin America, I don't know, and they are heavily on WhatsApp. Boom, be there. You gotta be on the channels where our customers are. Think about, we always think about like customers want to use the channels that they use with friends and family. And I have an example with that. During the pandemic, I started covering my gray hair at home, and I did one of those internet that they mix the hair color and send your way, and you kind of deal with the mess at home. And I was super happy. I did it for 2 years, and I could always skip the shipment on my own account. Oh, it didn't change. I'm sorry. I just now realized it changed as I was talking. Now it changed, right? Is it slow? Let me know. And so they made me call to skip my shipment. I was able to do it on their homepage, on their website. And when I realized I had to call now every time to talk to them, I was like, hey, I don't know the accent I'm gonna find on the other line, and so I'm like, I'm not very comfortable. I don't want to call. I am talking to people all day long. And then I just canceled my subscription. And the CEO was a Latino, and I know, and I was like, tell him that, like, give him the message, because I want to give Latino founders, Latino CEOs my business, but I was not happy now to have to call every time. So yeah, this is the message. Use Omnichannel, meet your customers in the channels they're using. And so hypergrowth startups are also 33% faster than other startups to add Omnichannel. And if I can give you an example of what a good experience is on a Omnichannel experience, this is what it should look like. Is it moving? Yeah, right. For you as well. Okay. And now what a bad experience looks like, right? You're reaching out on a certain channel, and the company pushes you to send an email. And I'm sure a lot of us are doing that. A lot of people are doing that. So final message here, meet them where they are at Omnichannel. And here, third, build a plan for your customers to reach you live. Live channels can help you solve a lot of urgent, high-value customer issues quickly and cheaply. And from our findings, fast-growing startups added chat in the first 12 months and voice support in the first 17 months after fundraising. So one thing I want to call your attention here, in the early days, it can be hard to have people available to customers in real time, right? When you talk about live, it means that if any customers wants to talk to you, they're going to find somebody to talk with. It cannot be everybody is busy, we're going to be back in 24 hours, right? This is not live chat. So that's why you have to roll out these tools based on customer preferences and when it makes sense for your business. So if you want to bring live channel, make sure you staff it, make sure there's going to be someone accountable for being live at times. Because there's nothing worse than expecting to get a problem solved in real time and having to wait, right? So 20% hypergrowth startups were 20% more likely to do it by year 2. And also they assigned 16% more agents to live chat than the rest. So if you do use live chat at a certain point in your business, make sure you staff it. Don't let customers just waiting there. The fourth target, I like to say that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, and the shortest path to answers for your customers can be self-service. And what we mean by that is like help center or FAQ. In our research, we found out that 61% of customers want to resolve as many issues on their own as possible. There you go with my gray hair coverage experience. I want to be able to do it by myself. I don't want to have to reach out to the customer all the time. So make sure that you're enabling your customers to find answers for themselves. And this is also super important for startups, especially early stage startups, because it helps you deflect tickets, right? The less people reach out to your company to find answers, the less your team needs to work with those customers, and so they can prioritize real issues, high priority customers, right? And another way that we see many early stage startups using their help center is also as a part of their content marketing strategy. Every time you upload the content about your product, about your service, about your business, you're flooding the internet with information about your product, and that will drive leads as well to your business. So keep in mind that this can be an amazing tool, and this is what we see also coming up in every conversation we have with early stage startups. And hypergrowth startups had 27% more content on their help center than the rest. Some startups use their help center as well as knowledge base for teams. So you can make it visible only for a certain group. If you're a B2B2C and you deal with corporates on one side and consumers on the other, you can also create different help centers for different types of customers, right? So there's a lot of ways you can maximize your help center to help your customers help themselves and find answers for themselves. And here's a simple thing that you can implement right away in your help center page. You know, if you get each one of your agents to spend 10 minutes a day creating an article about a pattern or a particular question that they had to answer that day that might be helpful to other clients. This is very easy to be done with Zendesk. Here I'm bringing a real example of, you know, something an agent had to solve, and with a click of a button, I'm able to turn that answer into a very short, clear, transparent article. So invest in self-service now. And the fifth target, make your stack work together and work for you. You can improve your productivity and streamline and automate workflows by tying your most important systems together. That way you're gonna make it very easy for your team to get customer information all in one screen. And if you're wondering what are the, so Zendesk integrates with more than 1,000 apps, so integrate with the very popular ones, even like Salesforce, HubSpot, Shopify. Of course, a lot of our e-commerce integrates with Shopify, but here let's name names. Jira and Slack are two of the most popular out-of-the-box integrations in Zendesk. Of course, Shopify for e-commerce. Yeah, so there are a lot of more than 1,000 out there. If there's anything specific you need, we also integrate. If you want to do Zoom chatting, like video customer support, we're also integrating with Zoom for that. So there are a lot of amazing ways that you can take your customer support to the next level with integration. And growing teams invest more in apps and integrations to put data at agents' fingertips than other companies. And that way you avoid going from one screen to another, looking for customer data, you know, that are scattered across different softwares and apps, etc. So, and finally, the target 6, this is more for later in your journey. When you have a team, you need to manage the outcomes, but it's important to know what success is going to look like. And, you know, when it comes to working with customers, that's really measured by speed and responsiveness. You know, be relentless about driving down the first reply times and resolution times. And simply put, help your customers as efficiently and quickly as possible. So the first reply time means that customer reaches out and within maybe 3 hours, you get back to that customer. Even if you just want to acknowledge, say, hey, I got this, I'm working on that, I don't have an answer for you right now. Give me a few hours and I'll get back to you about this. Even that helps you build trust with the customers. And this is so important on those early days, because you might be fighting with more well-established competitors, bigger and more powerful competitors. So when you're building trust, you know, you need transparency. Even if you don't know the answer, just get back to the customer and say, I'm working on this, I don't have an answer right now, I'll be back with you by end of the day. Right? And the resolution time means you solve that problem. So I have had with with Zendesk for startups, as I'm speaking about this, I'm thinking about my own customer support in the team. And sometimes I do have startups that wait way more than 3 hours for me to answer an email because I'm dealing with so much stuff. So I understand that you might not be able to do that right away, but this is more like a roadmap, a goal for us to think about, all of us working customer facing roles, how that first response time should be, how fast you should solve for partners, for customers, for your stakeholders, right? So, and as you get started, just remember, you don't have to do it all in a day, but you can actually achieve a lot in a very short time if you just have a strategy and a plan. So this is more or less what that plan would look like. And finally, let's talk unicorns. You're probably wondering, so what are they doing differently, right? And I got inspired by the Olympics because it always is crazy to me how that close all of them are to the finish line. It's like split seconds, right? But the one, Usain Bolt, the one that gets there first, it gets all the money. Their prize is huge, all the sponsorship, all the media attention. The second place, the third place, we don't even remember. And this, for me, it's very similar to what happens in the startup world, right? That 1% better, faster, makes you raise that next round, makes you beat your competitors, makes you first to solve your customer pain point. And so as you think about customer support and speed and competition, remember that in order for you to get first there, to raise that big amount with VCs, you gotta be that 1%, right? And this also reminds me when I was with Samsung Next Ventures and I was sitting on the partner meetings for 2 hours every Tuesday discussing deals that the investors saw along that week. I remember we would look for, I don't know how many deals, 99% of the deals we did not invest on. We invest in that 1%, right? And that's what that 1% is important. And that's why you can't dismiss like, I'm okay being second. No, you shouldn't. When you're putting your business together, you gotta go for speed, go for efficiency. And so if you wonder, what are those Usain Bolts of the startup ecosystem doing with their customer support? They're doing the same things, but faster. So they don't do anything different from hypergrowth or stagnant, but they're just much faster. They're 14% faster than the rest in adding omnichannel, 41% faster to add self-service and put up the help center and FAQ, 32 faster with live chat, 33% more likely to add phone to their support than slower growing startups. And if you start questioning yourself, like, is this investment worth it? You know, I always like to go back to the math of churn, you know, churn reduction and against lifetime value, right? If you reduce churn by 5% from 15 to 10%, you're getting 40% more in revenue. We at Zendesk, we are a B2B company, right? Losing a customer is painful because the likelihood of winning that customer back is very low. So once that customer is through the door, you have to make any and everything in your power to keep the customer happy, to make sure you are on top of your things. So remember this, churn, the math of churn reduction is very important as you are growing your business. And in closing, of course, I would like to share a special promotion for Graham and Walker startups. You know, Zendesk is committed to startups because we were one ourselves not too long ago, and in full transparency, we want our startups to grow and succeed with Zendesk, and also we make a lot of money from happy and successful startups. And we created the Zendesk for Startups program to make it easy for you to get to know and experience the value from our products. It's really all you can eat buffet. There's no like feature that you cannot use. It's pretty much once you're in, you can choose the plan you want. Even enterprise plan is covered by the program. You can get all the features you want to use. You're going to get expert help to ensure your onboarding and building for scale from day one. And, you know, you're also going to get access to our Slack community with head of customer support from other hypergrowth startups as well, like Calm, Clubhouse, Freshly, Bank Novo is there as well. Upworks is there. So there are a lot of CX leaders exchanging peer-to-peer best practices outside of what Zendesk does for startups. I'll share the link to apply as well when I'm done. But this is eligibility. So if you're not yet a Zendesk customer, you don't have more than 100 employees, and you haven't raised more than a Series B, you qualify. And I wanted to play a video if I still have time. Let me do this.
Zendesk makes customer service software, and it works right out of the box. It is also completely customizable and scalable and connects to the rest of your business. But no matter how you use it, Zendesk is designed to help you give your teams what they need so that your customers get what they want. Let's say your customers mostly send you emails, but some conversations are better over the phone, and maybe you'd like to start using a messaging app as well. In Zendesk, it's easy to add any new channels you need. And for the agent, this is all one conversation in one place. Collaborators are just a few clicks away. Same for knowledge articles, apps, even tools and information from other systems you already use. All valuable context about who you're trying to help and how to solve their issue. But perhaps your business is growing and your support operation is getting more complex. Zendesk lets you customize and optimize the whole picture, like by routing tickets to the right agents based on expertise, or automating which tools an agent sees based on the type of question. As your teams become more organized and productive, your customers get faster, more effective service. And with our built-in analytics that track just about everything, you'll also understand how to tie it all together. Like when you identify a question that's trending, so you assign an expert to create a new self-service article, which you feed to our AI-powered bots without writing any code, so that when the next customer reaches out, they get the answer they're looking for immediately. And hopefully, they feel very good about your company. Well done. Start your free trial today. Zendesk.
Okay, I'm gonna open for questions now. I just wanted to end with a little video about Zendesk. It's easier to play the video than me doing a product demo.
Thank you so much for the presentation. And yes, so we have some questions in the chat. So I'll start off with those, but I do encourage everyone else, if some questions did come up for you during Fernanda's presentation, please put them in the chat and we'll be sure to get to them. So the first question is, how do you optimize the volume of content in your help center?
Yeah, so I think, who asked that? I don't know if they want,
Well, some questions have been coming to Rory. So.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, so I think I covered a little bit about that in the presentation. I think like also in the video now, you saw a little bit about that. As you start seeing questions, if you just hear one particular question from your customer once, that's okay. But if it's something that you see trending, you see that more other customers are talking about, you definitely should add that as an article in your help center. And a rule of thumb is to get every day somebody on your team to put up an article. So if you can do that 10 minutes every day, that one person each different day, that is the impact it's going to have on your help center, on your business, on deflecting tickets is pretty incredible. So that's maybe it's easier said than done, but even if you do it every week, it's already something, right? So starting is the most important thing to do. Creating a little routine for creating those articles.
Awesome. Another question is there a rule of thumb around quantity of customers you recommend to have before adding a platform for B2C comms, I believe, versus B2B versus enterprise?
Yeah, so there is difference between B2C, B2B, and enterprise. I'm going to address B2C, and also it depends a lot on your go-to-market strategy. Let's say you're a B2C company and you have a big launch coming up, and you want to be you want those customers to get in and decide to stay and not leave right after a bad experience. So let's say you're going to do a big launch mid-December. You should already have everything, a platform, a customer support tool already in place before the launch. So you are able to get fast to your customers, get their answers straight, right? So B2C is very important to align it with your go-to-market strategy. Or if at some point you start seeing a lot of volume, right? You're like, okay, I can't really manage this anymore. It's becoming overwhelmed. That's when you should get a customer support in place. When it comes to B2B, it's a little more complex because a lot of teams within your company will have touch points with a lot of teams in the other business, right? So we as a B2B company, our legal team talks to another legal team, our account executive talks to the account, but then maybe our COO will invite someone else for dinner. So every touch point in that relationship is very important, and it helps build that trust. When it comes to volume of customers, when it comes to B2B, I would say I can actually share an article about this. I was reading the other day, but I would say that as long as you know who to prioritize, you are fine. Let's say you have 5 big enterprise or B2B small businesses that you're dealing with. You don't need a customer support for that, right? You probably have like if I'm on their team, I'm dealing with 5 accounts, maybe someone else is dealing with 5 accounts. When it comes to each one of those persons dealing with 50 accounts, right, or more, then it becomes a little more difficult to get to those customers right away and making them feel like the love and the attention. So I would say with B2B, you can wait a little bit, but as you see, it's more your gut feeling. As you see, like, we need to understand how to prioritize this business versus another. Is this the 50K business or the 5K business? Anybody, if tomorrow I'm hit by a bus and someone else comes in, where are they going to pick up? Are they going to have history about everything? Are they going to be able to pick up that account? So this all accounts when you're talking to B2B, because you can't afford to lose that relationship. And the relationship is also very person-based, right? So make sure the importance of having a tool is bringing data, allowing you to prioritize and keeping history as well for everything you do, other than just an email. I'll share a B2B article about this because it's super important. Something I found out the other day, our CTO was speaking at a fireside chat we organized with Redpoint Ventures. So it was one of their managing partners who used to be CTO at GitHub, and our CTO, the guy who took the product and engineering team at Zendesk from 50 to 1,000 employees, right? Or from 300 million to $1 billion in ARR. So at some point, he mentioned something that I didn't know. Zendesk didn't have a sales team for almost, 8 years. It was all customer support. It was all account executives, people working with the customers that already came in. So because the product was so good and it was solving for a real problem, it was more word of mouth and more marketing, no sales team actively going after companies. So that's how important customer support can be on those first years for a B2B company, right? Same with enterprise, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, those enterprise accounts, when they go away, you cry. You cry. Yeah. When you see the red point, like, no, this is red. Are we gonna be okay?
Yeah, it hits a little bit harder. Mm-hmm. Another question we have is, can you share any success stories of outsourcing customer support? Is this a good path to pursue?
So we have seen early stage startups that use a implementer, a company, a third party that comes in and they implement Zendesk for you. So the implementation, getting all the features, everything, putting the house in order for you. But outsourcing customer support is normally not perceived as a good practice, and I'll tell you why. Your customer should be your first priority. I remember Kristen always shares with us that the Slack CEO used to be actually on Zendesk every day because he wanted to see what customers were asking and talking about and complaining about Slack when they were started scaling. And so this, like, for you to get your product team to act, your engineering, your developers to do something, you gotta be in front of your customers. And outsourcing, unless you have so many people, you know, and you maybe like hundreds of thousands of customers of tickets coming in, I would say that for those early days is not a good practice, because you will need to be as close as possible to your customers to help with product roadmap, to get your IT team, or your IT team, even if there's a bug, but also your engineering team and developers involved. If the developers are not listening to the agents and they're like, we're not gonna fix that, that's not important, we have other important things to do, put them to answer the questions. Say, okay, now every Tuesday, the engineering team is gonna be on Slack. And once you have to answer every second customer question about certain bug in the product or anything, they're gonna fix it right away. So there's a lot of good practices there to get teams to work together. And I believe in those early days is something you should not outsource. Maybe later in your growth, if you're scaling super fast, then you can do that.
All right, and I just want to again encourage everyone to, if you have questions, you can put them in the chat. You can also come on camera and show up as well and unmute yourself to ask your question. So while I'm giving everyone time to think of their questions, we have another question. Does it make sense to hire someone dedicated exclusively to customer experience?
Let me just, I was gonna link, put the link here. Ooh, I put both, link to apply, sorry. I got distracted. Yeah, so I would say, so I've seen some COOs taking over the customer support. But I would say it makes totally sense to get a head of customer support early on to put that strategy in place. So dedicating one person, even if it's one, that person that has ownership of, you know, putting the platform together, making sure that platform is integrated with other software you're using, other apps you're using, or getting the development. If you're doing if you have your own software and you want to use your own APIs to get a developer team to build on the Zendesk or on the platform, everything. So I would say having a head of customer support makes a huge difference, because that's that person thinking day in, day out about how to make it better, how to use that data to share with the rest of the company, and how to make sure that customer retention strategy is in place and it's working. So definitely a huge plus if you have the bandwidth to bring in a head of customer support early on. And they normally know Zendesk already and most tools, because they have used that already. So it's something that the learning curve is not gonna be that difficult, right?
Yes. I think we may have someone who wants to ask a question. Or Roy, did you want to go?
No, I think people are being shy. You all can, it's nice if we can see each other. You can ask questions. People have been chatting me in the background. But one that came in is kind of thinking, how should founders be thinking about integrating their CRM with a customer support platform? I think especially with, you kind of touched on this a little bit as you were talking about B2B customers, where you might have a lot of different touch points across the organization. So, you know, this is partially, I guess, a product question, right? Of like what integrates, but how should people be thinking about prioritizing the two, of bringing in a formal CRM, and how does that line up with thinking about your customer support?
Yeah, so if you are already using a sales CRM, you should definitely integrate it to Zendesk, because first you can, let's say you have a answer bot, a live chat bot, or a AI bot here answering questions. That bot is also taking in leads, right? People that come in, show up on your website asking questions. That can be a lead. So that will pop up on your Zendesk. And then you can directly integrate and bring it over. Just now, I don't know which CRM you're using. I can share some articles with the most popular sales CRM and marketing CRMs out there and how it works with Zendesk. If you have any in particular that you want to know, you can put it on the chat or let me know here. But I would always use integrations. We use a lot of integrations with Zendesk just because we need to know the sentiment of the customer, what they're doing. And if you think about it, Zendesk, not too long ago, I think a few years ago, we acquired a company called Smooch that became Zendesk Sunshine and Zendesk Sunshine Conversation. And that's a layer of customer intelligence that allows you to see where that customer, not only who the customer, the person is, but where they shop, where they go, if they bike, if they take the car. Everything is like super impressive, the amount of data you can collect from customers and integrate with all your stack. So I would definitely prioritize integrating your sales efforts with your customer support efforts.
I think we have someone in the audience. Donna, did you have a question? No? Okay. Well, we appreciate you being on camera. So if no one else has any other questions, just want to thank Fernanda for a great presentation, super informative. Of course, she put a link to apply for their startup program in there, as well as there's a special offer from Zendesk, and we'll be sure to give that to you all as well as we do a follow-up email after the event today. But thank you so much. And again, this is our first encounter with Zendesk, and I believe Fernanda will also be doing one-on-ones afterwards as well. So be able to ask, if you're too shy to ask during the event, you can ask during thing. Oh, there's a fire alarm. As well.
I also put a link for feedback. So if there's anything you